Dear friends, today we have with us a very special guest. We have with us Gurmesh Singh, who is the Deputy Leader of the New South Wales Nationals, and he is one of the first people of Indian origin to be directly elected to any parliament in Australia. Gurmesh, thank you so much for giving us your time today.
My pleasure.
Thank you so much.
My pleasure.
Yeah. Gurmesh, let's begin with your journey. Like, how did you decide to get into politics?
Look, I was involved in a farmers cooperative, and part of my role there was an advocacy role and representing those farmers out to the community and with levels of government. And one of the roles that I took as part of that wider role was a spot on a ministerial advisory panel with the last with one of the ministers in the 2015 to 19 government with regards to agriculture, and that got my interest in state politics, and I guess it was an accident of timing where our long-standing local member who had been the member there for nearly 30 years, 29 and a half years he served, he retired right at the time where I thought I could maybe do something different. And I was 35 years old at the time. We just had our second child, and I thought, maybe I'll stick my hand up and see what happens. So I went for a party pre-selection. I won that, and then obviously went to a general election a few months later and was successful there as well.
Right. And how did you decide to join the Nationals? Because how did that choice come about?
Look, I think I've always really admired the Nationals, how they stick up for particularly regional New South Wales, and particularly from an agricultural background. And we would see that the National Party understood that without farming, without the primary industries and without regional areas, cities can't function. Without food being grown in the regions, cities can't function. And our whole society would collapse without the inputs from regional New South Wales. And they actually made, they make the place better to live. And that's why I decided to join. And obviously I still feel those values quite deeply. Even if you're a teacher, a paramedic, a nurse, people who might traditionally vote the other way, without the National Party in the regions making the whole place, the whole cities, the whole towns nicer places to live, we have seen that other governments can focus all their attention on Sydney and not in our regions.
Okay, and I would like to ask you this, Gurmesh, that if you look at the Indian diaspora here, they are extremely successful in almost every sphere of activity, but you don't see those many Indian origin people coming into politics. I mean, you have seen a few in the last couple of years, but even then they're not that active. So how was your journey? Was it easy? Was it difficult? And what would you maybe like to say to other people who may be looking at this as a career path?
Look, my journey was, I was really lucky. I had a very good mentor. The former local member of the area really took me under his wing, and that started even before the pre-selection. I sat down with him for hours, having a look at what the job actually is, because a lot of people in the diaspora have an understanding of politics like it's done in India, where MPs can be like movie stars. They have security, they have drivers, they have this big production whenever an MP is doing anything. Whereas here in Australia, it's quite different. It's much more modest, a much more modest profession than what it is overseas. So when people talk to me about what the role is, often they start off with a joke. Oh, where's your security and your gunmen and all this kind of stuff? Well, we don't get that in Australia. Our system is very different. And particularly when I talk to younger people about getting involved, it's about starting off at a genuine grassroots level and making sure you're doing it for the right reasons. Because in India, being a politician can be a source of great wealth and great, what would you call it? Like it can be a really huge deal over there. Over here, it's a much more modest career. Your power is more limited. You have to work within a more structured environment, and therefore you really need to be in it for the right reasons. So particularly younger people, I encourage them to get involved in their local community, and if they enjoy it, because it's not for everybody, if they enjoy it, then they need to but basically work their way up through the grassroots.
And also, if we look at, shift a little bit to the wider India-Australia relationship, how do you see that, and how would you see the role of the Indian diaspora here in strengthening that relationship, which many experts believe is a very, very important relationship for Australia?
Look, the relationship certainly changed in my lifetime. My great-grandfather came to Australia in the 1890s, and they lived a very different existence to what we see now. And even my father growing up in Australia, he went to Sydney here in the 70s. Very different experience. And I remember coming to Sydney with my parents as a child. And if you saw another Indian in Sydney down the street, you would stop. You would ask, "Who are you? Where's your you'd almost try and be friends with them." Whereas now, I think the Indian Australian population is so large now that you might not even know the people on your own street, let alone people you see walking down the street. So certainly the population here has grown exponentially, but I think the ties between the two countries have gotten so much closer. Part of that is in India they speak English. They have the same British Westminster system and the bureaucracy that we have, they have. So naturally there's an alignment between our countries. Our culture is also, I think there are parts of our cultures that are very well aligned. Obviously cricket's the one big thing that everyone talks about.
True.
There is a shared love of cricket, and I don't think we should be so shallow as to say that's the only thing that unites us.
Sure.
But it's a shared value that we have, and it's a shared sport and an interest that actually makes the relationship stronger. It's not the only thing to build the relationship on, but certainly we see it being one of the reasons it grows. And I think too, economically, obviously the Indian diaspora is incredibly successful because hard work is valued, and I think that's something back in India there is, if you don't work hard, you do tend to struggle, and I think that work ethic carries over here to Australia. And Australia's one of those nations in the world where if you work hard, you are rewarded, and I think there's no better motivation to work hard than when you see the rewards of your hard work from what you did last year, and then it's very easy to quickly build on that too. The other reason I think our diaspora is very successful is a lot of people still live in multi-generational families as well, and that is a great leg up for people starting out in young families as well.
Yeah. Gurmesh, thank you so much for your time, and I'm sure we are going to catch up with you many times in the future, but best of luck, and thanks for being an inspiration for the diaspora and for the larger community.
Very, very great to be interviewed by you today. Thank you.
All right. Thank you so much.